Hi everyone, Angela here. I'm going to show you how I make continuous bias tape from a fat quarter. If you don't know what that is, it's a full yard of fabric that's divided into 4 sections, and one of those sections is called a fat quarter. It measures half a yard or 18 inches long and half the width of the fabric, so in this case 22.5 inches wide. On one side is the selvage edge with the lengthwise grain parallel to it. This has the least amount of stretch. Along here is the crosswise grain with just a bit more give. Going across on a 45-degree angle is the bias. This is the stretchiest part of the fabric and the direction we want to cut the strips. Start by cutting away the selvage edge and making sure all the sides are squared. Place the 45-degree angle mark along the bottom of the fabric and have the corner of the template in about an inch from the edge of the fabric and then cut. Links for all the tools I use can be found in the description below. Match the edges with right sides together and clip in place if you need to. Adjust your machine to a shorter stitch length and start by sewing a few stitches. Stitch together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance and then press the seam open flat. Here's the seam with the fabric right side up. Turn the fabric so that the bias is at the bottom. Decide how wide you'll be cutting your strips. I'm cutting mine 2 inches wide. I'm starting my first cut about an inch in from the edge and then cutting all the way through at the other edge. For the next cuts, start and stop an inch in from both edges. This last bit of fabric isn't wide enough, so we'll just trim that away. Now on this pointy end, we can cut that straight through. Both ends should be unattached with the center strips still connected. At this point, you would usually match the sides and stitch together. But because there's a seam right on the edge, when you join it to the side, this seam intersects with this seam and it's just all too close together. And it's also the same at the other end. So we'll cut right across the top and bottom strip. Flip the end over with right sides together, match the edges and offset the corner by 1/4 inch and pin in place. Match the sides together, making sure that the edges of the straps are right beside each other. Pin across to the other end and then turn over to the other side. Pin the last strap right sides together with the end that doesn't have the seam and make sure to offset the end 1/4 inch. With the 2 end straps in place, you may have to stretch out the center fabric a little bit to make it all fit. Then stitch together right across. Start and finish your stitching right where the edges meet, and also make sure to keep those angled edges together. To make it a bit easier for ironing, put your arm through the loops and turn it right side out. Then press the seam open flat. Trim away the little bits from each side and then continue the cuts straight across to separate the strap. Trim away the seams from each end on a 45-degree angle. If you're using an all-over print, the position of the seams don't really matter, but if you're using a striped fabric, you'll notice that the seam might end up in the middle of a stripe or that the stripes don't match at all. So if you're anything like me and you can't live with this, just cut along the edge of a stripe, skip over any shorter pieces of binding, then cut along the stripe of the joining piece. Fold over one end along the edge of the stripe and make a crease. Place on top of the other piece so that the pattern looks continuous. Carefully turn over and then you can see exactly where you need to sew on top of the crease. This fat quarter has given me almost 5 meters of 2-inch bias tape ready for my next project. Thanks again for watching, take care and happy sewing!